All right. All right. So good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Pillar 3 of our Renew program. We're already halfway through, officially done 21 days together. And I really want to say thank you for letting me invade your lives a bit and walk you through a process that have has proven to be beneficial in my life and I hope is proving beneficial in yours. I am also really excited by the number of you that are sharing in the group, like sharing the insights that you're getting, sharing the recipes, sharing your workouts, sharing. It's amazing. And I want you to keep it going because sometimes you feel so demotivated and then you see what someone else is doing and it just picks you up. So I love the accountability that I'm seeing in the WhatsApp groups, and I hope that we keep it going. Even though we're halfway through, we're in the home stretch of things, and I really encourage you to continue to lean into the community. We've got some new people who joined us this week, so I don't know if any of them are on the line. Let me see if I see Nana Amma or Jewel. Okay, I don't see them on here live. I would have given them a minute to introduce themselves, but I typically don't let anyone else join beyond the nutrition pillar. And they've received all the recordings of what we've done in pillars 1 and 2, and they trust that they'll get caught up and just dig in with us from the nutrition piece. So I say all that to say, like, look, I believe this experience will be for each of us, whatever we make it. Like if you dig in and squeeze out every ounce of the opportunity, I think you will find your life remarkably better. And if you're just, here with to be with, you might find like, this is just another thing that happened, another thing you signed up for. I really, am grateful for the opportunity to walk you through some of the guidance that truly helped me. My original 52-day experience was on a fully raw diet where I ate nothing but raw fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and drink water, meaning that I made a remarkably bold decision that scared a lot of people, including my family, including my husband, my daughter, my mother. I told some of this story in the deep dive that many of them felt like something had gone off, like I'd gone crazy because why? But I did that because that's how I felt led. And I'm giving this as a preface to our session tonight because some of you might be on medications for things and your doctors, might not suggest that you are the best candidate to make this major transition in how you eat. Some of you might also have not had any experience with, you know, natural foods, and so you might need to ease your way into things. I am not trying to be prescriptive. I really want to be informative so that you will be armed with information that will enable you to make your own choices. When I did my own personal journey, I did go completely off of meat, completely off of dairy, completely off of any cooked food. And I did that because I wanted to reverse my chronic illnesses. And I felt like I had been armed with enough information that that was the best choice for me. So I, majority of the time, was eating nothing but salads and smoothies or, cut up fruits and vegetables dipped in other mashed up fruits and vegetables, basically. So I did that for this, nearly 2 months period exclusively. And I dropped a lot of weight and I reversed all of those symptoms that had me on those pills, which was really my motivating factor. Some of you are on this challenge and don't really need to lose a significant amount of weight. Some of you are also here. Your doctor or health care provider might advise that that rapid weight loss is not something your body can handle, which is why I've been encouraging us all to get our medical checkups. Can you show me by emoji if you've done your medical checkups yet? Um, I really am advocating for that because I want us to do everything that we're doing with wisdom and strategy. I see a few people responding, done. Thank you, Doreen. Glad to know you've done it. I see a few emojis going up. Thank you, Lois. Okay, good. Because I personally don't think you should make massive transformation to how you're eating without guidance from your medical professional who knows your history, knows what you've been struggling with, and knows what's what, right? And I share that as well because sometimes when your doctor knows what you're doing, it can help balance out what you're hearing with what you're seeing. Okay. So I think I, with that said, we could get into the guidance that I'm offering for today in terms of, you know, this no processed food challenge, which we've started today. I want to walk you through it. Some of you might have already watched the video that I pre-recorded for this, and you might have had all your questions answered. But if not, I just want to walk through it again so that people understand what we're doing and what we're not doing. I'm not asking any of you to starve. This is not a starvation moment. This is an opportunity for us to explore how do we nourish ourselves differently. So the third pillar of our program here looks at nutrition, and I'm inviting you, just as how we did with with pillar two on energy. We did an audit. We did an energy audit where I was asking you to just observe what happened when you did your energy audit, like what times of the day were you naturally energized, etc. Similarly, for our nutrition pillar, I'm inviting you into 10 days of plant-based nutrition. And I'm inviting you to consider dropping meat, fish, oils, and anything that is super processed from your diet, which would include things like rice, noodles, spaghetti, pasta, meat, chicken, poultry, all of those things, and dairy products like cheese and milk, etc. And the reason why I encourage it is because part of this journey is about implementing greater discipline, becoming more obedient to what I believe is the voice of God for how we care for our bodies, building integrity, and living in truth. And for me, I really want to encourage you to see this as a test of like your personal endurance, your ability to practice integrity with yourself, and your ability to also be a scientist and see what would or could happen to your body if you weaned it off of some of the foods you've been super dependent on and just gave it natural nutrition for a period of time. So it's similar to like a Daniel fast. For those of you who are familiar with the story of Daniel in the Bible, he asked the prison guard to not let him eat what the king was eating, the king's meat and all of that, the delicacies. He said, just let me live on nothing but fruits and vegetables and give me nothing but water. I'm not going to drink wine. And at the end of the period, he was found to be healthier, stronger, more robust than those that were feeding on the delicacies. So this essentially could be considered a spin on that, that for the next 10 days, we're encouraging you to prioritize nutrient-dense nutrition, nutrient-dense foods. So think about, does what I'm about to put in my mouth grow in a garden? If it grows in a garden, then I would encourage you to eat that. If it was created in the lab or some sort of process, you know, if all of the ingredients have big words that you cannot pronounce, this is not the moment to be eating that. If it has dyes and artificial colors and artificial seasonings in it, this next 10 days, I'd encourage you to lay off of it. And so think of what we're inviting you to do for the next 10 days as an invitation to eat like Adam and Eve did when they were in the garden. The Lord said, you can eat of every plant here, except this one that, screwed things up for us. But he basically invited them at the beginning to eat a garden-centric diet. And for these next 10 days, as we're embarking upon what we're calling the No Processed Food Challenge, I'm essentially encouraging you to return to that original assigned way of eating, just as a test of what it could do for your body. Because when I felt the nudge, which I felt more spiritually than anything, I felt like God was saying to me, if I gave myself 52 days on nothing but food that He made, that I would and could see changes in my body. And by His grace, I did. So, what if we took just 10 days to see what this type of eating could do for you? And for me, I invite you, if you feel so led, to also make this a period of prioritizing prayer. I really spent a lot of time just asking the Lord to forgive me for mistreating my body, repenting. In fact, there was a day I felt like I needed to call out my organs and say sorry. Like, sorry, heart, for the strain that I've put you under by eating such poor food. Sorry, liver. By then, when I'd done my labs, they saw that I had so much fat around my liver, a fatty liver. And I just felt like I needed to repent to my body and to just say, Lord, forgive me for mistreating the members of my temple this way. And as I'm eating food that you prescribed us to eat from the beginning, I pray that this food will heal my body and bring me back to the place of proper function. So I also think the prayers helped, because I know a lot of vegetarians, people who live on nothing but fruits and vegetables, but are still sick. So for me, there's just something about inviting God into the process that feels essential. So I did warn you that for me, this 52-day renew challenge is as spiritual a process as my faith in Christ. And I encourage you that as you're feeding your body with nutrition that God made and you're saying no to processed foods, I encourage you to also incorporate prayer. These are some of the prayers that I was praying over myself. Like Moses, my natural force will not be abated, nor will my eyes grow dim in Jesus' name. This is from the book of Deuteronomy 34, verse 7, which says that Moses was 120 years old. His eyes didn't grow dim, neither was his natural force abated. I was speaking rejuvenation over my body, my cells, my organs, my mind, my ears. And I was just speaking over myself that my body will be an expression of God. It will not fail, that it returns to proper function. These really at least helped me psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually during my 52-day period. I also just turned down the volume of everything else that wasn't this. Like, it was my major priority. So I became obsessive over just eating right and praying through for myself, because let me describe to you where I was. Like, at my heaviest, I weighed 126 kilos. I was lethargic. I was slow. I was finding it difficult to keep up with my kids. I would walk up a few steps and just feel breathless. I would be breathing so hard like a machine. I was snoring. My husband still has recordings of me from that period where he's like, there's some nights I couldn't even sleep because your snoring was so bad. I started to feel unsexy, if you know what I mean, unwilling to undress in front of my husband, not wanting um his eyes to see my naked body, especially because I didn't quite like what I was seeing in the mirror, etc. But I share this very vulnerably because I think for each of us, we've got to decide, like, are we sick and tired of being sick and tired? Are we ready to do the needful instead of the convenient? And are we ready to lean into a different way of living? Oftentimes, everything we're looking for is on the other side of a hard decision that we're unwilling to make. And for me, that hard decision was to say, look, I can't keep living this way. I can't keep popping these pills. I was on medication for diabetes. I was on medication for high blood pressure, which is hypertension. And I was on medication for high blood cholesterol. And I'm pleased to share, like, I went and did my labs before we started this nutrition piece, and everything is normal still because to a large extent, I still eat very minimal meat products, very minimal carbs. In fact, it was over the Christmas that I said yes to some carbs I hadn't eaten in a long time. But as I've tried to maintain what the practices that healed me by God's grace. And I'm glad that my body continues to function without the need for these drugs because my vitals are where they need to be. So I share this not to be self-promoting or to say I'm so fantastic, but to share with you that I'm encouraging you to eat nutrient-dense foods that are natural and to say no to things that are processed. And they may include things like certain dressings for salad, like you may be eating a healthy salad, but maybe if you turn around the bottle and read what's in that dressing that you're putting on, you might be better off just eating the leaves with a little salt and a little vinegar, or a little salt and some squeezed lemon juice or orange juice or tangerine juice on it. I'm going to be sharing you some links to different material that I've read that really convicted me to really be watchful about where I source meat. When I do want to eat meat, where do I source it? Much of our food supply is filled with so many antibiotics that seep into the animal's blood. And their meat, so a lot of meat products are tainted with antibiotics and other things that are causing us, mental um, illnesses. A lot of these antibiotics have been linked to mental illness. Sometimes the way the animals are slaughtered are also, they release different hormones into their bloodstream at the time of death that ends up in their meat. And sometimes they say that that's really what's causing the uptick in some of the anxiety and depression, etc. So I read a lot and I was coached by a wellness coach who I worked with or kind of paid to work with to help me figure out what was wrong with me and what needed to shift. So I'm encouraging you to say no to sugar, raw sugar, even if it's brown. I would encourage you to stay away from it for these 10 days. Um, Cook without oil if you can, please. I know there are healthy oils like avocado oil and olive oil. Those are the two and then coconut oil, coconut, avocado, and olive oil are the three that when I do use oil, I try to use. But if you could stay away from the commercial seed oils, the canola oil, the soy oils, the fritols, those things, there's a history and there's literature and there's stuff that convicted me at least that those are worth staying away from. I'm also inviting you to consider staying away from dairy products for this period of time. So milk, eggs, and other dairy products like cheese and yogurts and things like that. Not because they're fundamentally bad, but I think just putting on your scientist hat for this moment, 10 days without them, what are alternative sources of protein that you might be able to use to continue to, help your body? And especially if you're looking to reverse disease, if you're not sure where you're sourcing your eggs from or your dairy products from, I think an invitation to cut them off for now might be useful to see whether those could be the source of some of the ailments that you're experiencing. Things like tinned tomatoes, like can you just do fresh tomatoes for now? Say no to anything that is just not natural for 10 days, basically. is what we're asking. So the pastries, the donuts, the bread, the wheat, any wheat products. I read a lot and learned a lot about how a lot of the wheat that is grown now is hybridized. And so most wheat products don't really have as much fiber in them as they used to before the seeds were hybridized. And now what we call wheat is a poor reflection of the fiber-rich wheat that God gave us in the beginning. And so I've been learning more about ancient grains and other things. And I just, I will share the links to things I've been reading that have been informative to my choices to stay away from, flour products as much as I can. It was over Christmas that I had apple pie for like that was the first time in like over a year that I had had any type of sweet um like pastry rich sweet, and that was just really in celebration with the family over Christmas. So I'm not saying you have to eat this way forever, but I am inviting you to look at a 10-day period starting today and examine what this could do for you. Things that I noticed is more restful sleep, uh, not needing to sleep as long. Like even if I had a short night, I woke up feeling relatively rested. My husband noticed that I stopped snoring. I noticed better mental clarity. I noticed just more of a calm over me and more of the space of being clear-minded about what I'm doing. So I saw a lot of benefits besides just the weight loss. I just really noticed that cutting for, I've never been a drinker for per se, so alcohol was easy. But cutting out sugars, like if you imagine the amount of sugar they put in bread, the amount of sugar that you find in, store bought salad dressings, um, even tomato paste, oftentimes they have sugars in that. The seasoning cubes that we use to season our food, I didn't realize that that's just one of the big triggers for my high blood pressure. So I've learned to prioritize cooking food at home for myself or eating very lightly when I'm out and about, especially because you go to a lot of places that they use seasoning cubes and things like that. And sometimes I can feel once I taste that this food, oh no, I stop myself because I realize that I don't want to get hooked. Part of the challenge of those type of seasonings, they make the food taste good, then it makes you want to eat more of it. And then the more of that that's in your bloodstream, the more it's affecting your blood sugar as well as your blood pressure. So for me, eating this way really, really helped me meet my goals. And I'm asking everyone to put it to the test for 10 days and see what it could do for you. We're going to keep up our targets for water, of course. So if you can increase your intake of water, I know we've been committing to 2 liters per day, but during this challenge, I'd encourage you to increase your water intake where possible. If you could do, 3 liters of drinking water, some of that could be in your smoothie. Like, usually I probably need like 0.5 or 0.75 milliliters of water for my smoothies. So sometimes I use coconut water, sometimes I use just actual, filtered drinking water for my smoothies. So think about how you can get the 3 liters, and sometimes you can get it through your smoothie as well, in addition to actually drinking. I've done pretty good on my water intake today. I think I'm on my final bottle, which is near its completion. And I had this one in the fridge because my water bottle, I finished that earlier today. And I would encourage you if you could, I borrowed this from the community I'm a part of called My Eden Plan. We talk about the different plans that you could eat on, and I thought I'd present this same plan because it's been very helpful. When I started my 52-day challenge, nearly a week or two after is when I met the My Eden Plan community, which is a Christian community that fasts, very similar to the Daniel fast that I described. And so I love how they broke down the fasting plans, and that's what I borrowed here to encourage us to consider. Like if you can do fully raw, I'd encourage it, but if you can't, I'd encourage you to, prioritize nuts and seeds and supplement with B12 and D3 as well, if you're able to do that. So salad, as much salad as you possibly can. Uh, Prioritizing the leafy green vegetables, especially because they're high in iron, fiber, and other minerals that we often do not have in our diets. So if you're able to prioritize that, it would be incredibly helpful. And in terms of supplements, I see the chat box right now. Someone is saying eggs are her favorite. All right. Again, I would love for you to be able to. Oh, some of you are saying you can't see the presentation. Okay. All right. I can see the presentation. Can I be heard? Can people hear me? Did I lose you all? All right. Apologies. It says it's dark. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to just try and reshare. Thank you for the prompt. I could see messages popping up. All right. Thank you for the prompt. Let me reshare. All right. Okay. Are you able to see now? All right.
Yes, we can. We didn't see anything since you started.
Oh my. Okay. Let me go back. Thank you. And sorry I wasn't checking the chat box before. Let me go back. All right. This is the fancy presentation I put together for you all. I sent a version of this that was pre-recorded from a previous cohort, but I really wanted to walk through it again and then invite questions and Q&A. But the goal of this is to bolster our discipline, our obedience, to get us to walk in integrity with ourselves and help us to reach out for the truth for how we should nourish our bodies. And what we're encouraging during this period is that all of us will be prioritizing nutrient dense foods. And I want you to think about garden, like we're eating things that you would find in a garden or on a farm. If it's a carrot, if it's contomere, if it's, for those of you who want cooked foods, I'm not saying you can't cook anything. I'm saying that like as minimally processed, like if all the process you're gonna do is boil, or air fry, then I think that's fine. But if what you're going to eat is processed, it's in a bag, it's sealed, it's been on a shelf, that's something I'd encourage you to stay away from for the next 10 days, just as a way to see what it does or what it could do for your body, right? So, as I was saying, I want you to consider supplementing what you're doing with prayer. I really was praying these prayers over myself, as I said before. I won't go back over them, but here they are. And I'm asking you to say no to the following items, like sugars, any unnatural source of sugar. And even as you prioritize fruit, I would encourage you to think more savory than sweet if you're dealing with blood sugar issues. Think of, how you can lean into eating more vegetables than fruit. So usually we recommend that if you're making a smoothie, you have 75% of that smoothie be vegetables, and then just 25% of the smoothie be sweet, like a fruit that's sweet. So I think that was really helpful guidance for me as I was trying to recover from diabetes and not need to be on medication for that anymore. So if you can say no to animal products for the period, I highly encourage it as well. That includes meat and fish and seafood and um, eggs, unfortunately, if you're able to. I know, I want each of you to feel super inspired and instructed to choose a plan that works for you. Okay. But in terms of daily targets, I've borrowed this from my Eden Plan, which is a community I'm a part of, and we fast regularly. But we encourage increased water intake. So our current requirement for the community has been 2 liters. And if you can increase that to another liter during this 10-day period, I highly encourage it. We'd encourage you to take smoothies, prioritize green smoothies, especially as women. We have our monthly cycle, and some of us are anemic and don't even know it. So the green smoothies with healthy greens, like I love using spinach or boko boko, which I think in English is water leaf. Sometimes I use kale, but find what works for you. Dandelion. There are different local herbs and local greens that don't make you break the bank, and you can have them raw and it be healthy for you. So please think about that. I'd encourage you to prioritize omega-3 rich seeds like flaxseed and chia seeds, which are really good for your smoothies. I usually blend them into the smoothies. These days, my husband loves, I do the chia seed pudding for him, and I'll share some of the recipes for those of you who might want to try different things. But these seeds are really good sources of essential vitamins and minerals and healthy fat. So you may notice in the previous slide, I talked about saying no to oil. You can get oil from natural sources like, healthy fats from avocado, healthy fat from the seeds. So chia seeds and flax seeds, they've got omega-3 fats in them. So all of the food groups can still be had on this very restricted plant-based diet that we're encouraging you to try for the 10 days. And again, the disclaimer is consult your doctor if you've got something going on that they think this might be dangerous for you or unnecessary for you. Especially if you're not looking to lose weight, this might cause some rapid weight loss, which is what it did for me. So again, you can be guided based on the guidance of your medical professional, but I'm encouraging you to meet these essential targets. And then you could do the all raw plan, which is if you're looking for rapid recovery, like I was, and if you need to heal as fast as possible, like I wanted, and if you feel like you needed that challenge, like I did, then maybe you do an all raw diet, prioritizing, raw vegetables, raw fresh herbs, and raw fruit, right? Um, if you don't think if all raw is too gangster for you and you don't think that this is what you feel called to do, you might want to do plan B, which is, have some cooked food, like do some raw, some fresh, but maybe you'll add things like butternut squash or sweet potato or boiled yam or boiled plantain, and then you'll do cooked contemporary a boom or something like that, which is, really nice. I mean, I had some of that this weekend actually. So again, nuts are great. I would encourage you, if you're going to have any nut, you prioritize walnuts instead of the others. I think I was sharing with you that last year I ended off in grief over a dear friend of mine, and I realized that I was just snacking and it was nuts, like handfuls of nuts at a time. And I just realized, like, oh, wow, I put on a few kilos just like snacking on nuts. Like, nuts are good, but some nuts are better than others. So, walnuts is what we would recommend. They're a really good source of protein and not as calorie dense as like peanuts and other nuts. So, if you're looking for the benefit of weight loss, walnuts is what we would recommend, especially because it's really good for the brain as well. For those of you experiencing mental fog or need more mental clarity, walnuts are a real great addition. So I used to do walnuts with dates. I love the combination because walnuts, in my opinion, taste a little bland as a nut. So I used to get dates and chew them with walnuts because the dates gives you a little natural sweetness with a lot of natural sugar. And then the walnuts give you a crunchiness. And so I would blend those two together, like chew them together rather. And that like was really sustaining for a lot of people who know Muslim families during their Ramadan fast. They live on dates, like they chew a few dates. Dates are really great at helping regulate your blood sugar, and sometimes great as a meal replacement because they're just so full of different vitamins and nutrients and natural sugars, and they don't spike your blood sugar like other fruits have a tendency to do. So, if you could incorporate dates into your repertoire for these 10 days, that might be a good option as well. Okay, so if you want this plan, incorporate some cooked food. If you're not looking to shed weight drastically. If if you're not like smoothies can be an acquired taste, green smoothies especially. So like if you need an onboarding ramp, I would say do this plan where you can have some cooked food, but you're not using seasoning cubes. You're doing everything just natural. So like your seasoning for your contemporary or your spinach stew would be, you know, garlic and onions and pepper and nothing else. Keep everything we're eating for these 10 days righteous, please. Um, so yeah, I hope you understand. So basically, we're inviting you to think about what plans work best for you. Um, somebody says walnuts taste like a tree bark. I wouldn't say tree bark, but yeah, they could use some flavor. My least favorite nuts are walnuts, but they're like the best for you. I don't know, like God, I read a quote by someone, I can't remember who said it. She said, "Why is it that everything good in life is either illegal, immoral, or fattening? Why?" So I feel your pain, but there's some really good combinations. And one of the things that I've enjoyed with my salads is making pesto out of basil and nuts, make a pesto that's a pretty healthy green dressing. Pesto is lovely with olive oil, but if we're staying away from oil for these 10 days, you can just do it without the olive oil and just use a little citrus like lemon juice or water or, um, like I've done pesto uh, with some walnuts, a little with basil, of course, with walnuts and garlic and salt, and that was really nice as well. All right. Sweet to the mouth, bitter to your health, bitter to your mouth, sweet to your health. Ah, thank you for that, Boanile. Yeah. What's oily tasting, Mirabelle? I see you saying they are oily tasting. Are you talking about the walnuts? Yeah, they
Yes, the walnuts.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah, they can be weird. It's definitely an acquired taste, but which is why I liked chewing mine with some dates. So like, in the morning I might make a tea and like I would encourage you to lean into natural teas as well. I don't know if you know what cocoa nibs are. Maybe if you love these chocolatey, milky drinks in the morning, I have a recipe that I use to replace that. Like I used to love like a thick cup of chocolatey Milo or Richoco or whatever, and that's full of sugars and lots of other processed things that aren't really good for our body. And I now have like raw cocoa nibs, which is like literally the raw dark chocolate before it gets processed. And then I blend that with hot water with some ginger, with some cardamom, with some cinnamon, star anise, and it's like this fragrant, and then with raw cashew, and the cashew gives it like the milky texture, and the chocolate gives it the chocolatey taste, and then put a few dates in there, and you've got like a real healthy chocolate drink replacement, right? So think about how creative you could get to take all that God gave us in nature and make things that you actually enjoy, and you can replace things that ordinarily would be eating. So I really, encourage us to read wide and share tips and strategies on the group. I know some of you are so far advanced in this type of eating, but some of us have a lot to learn. So I count myself in the lot to learn as well. All right. And then for those who, maybe you're expecting, or maybe you're recovering from a sickness, or, today I did a salad and all of that. I don't know if you recall, I told you last week when I went to get my labs done, they realized that I've got typhoid, so I'm on antibiotics. So after I had the salad this afternoon and all of that, I thought I was fine, but like I think this antibiotic needed me to eat some more. So like this evening I fixed myself a plate. I had like actually the plate is still here. I haven't taken it to the kitchen, but like I had like half a mango and like two bananas and like some walnuts and some um uh what's it called? Granola that had nuts and some other things in it. And I was like, I needed something a little more substantial because I think this antibiotic that I'm taking has me a little wonky, if you know what I mean. So if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, if you need to maintain the current weight you're at, or if you're recovering from something like I am, I didn't realize I had typhoid going on with me. I mean, I felt good, I feel good, and I'm not bedridden or anything, but I do want to respect what they saw in my blood work and like just take this course of antibiotics, which, is a 2-week course. So make modifications as you need. I want everyone to act in wisdom. I want everyone to make choices that make sense for where they're at and what their goals are. And please make data-driven decisions by involving your healthcare provider as much as you can. Okay. My only regret when I did my 52-day challenge, my personal journey, and I went fully raw and all of that, I wasn't exercising. I wasn't really doing a lot of physical activity. So I lost a lot of weight and then became very flabby, if you know what I mean. So I think as we're doing this 10-day no processed food challenge, I encourage you to stay active. I encourage you to, maybe less cardio and more muscle toning workouts. Like what I did this morning for a workout was it didn't require a lot of jumping and movement because I realized that actually I'm going to be eating a lot less and I'm going to be doing mostly raw food, etc. So instead of jumping all over the place, I want to be stable and do repetitive movements that tone my muscles and you know, um, energize me in that way. So all of us may have a path that looks a little different from the other, but I want to encourage you to do a couple of things. Number one, I want you to choose a path and commit, right? So if you're doing fully raw, just go fully raw for the 10 days. If you're going to do the mixed plan with a little cooked veg, a little cooked starch here and there, do that. Or if you're going to do the variety plan, just stick to that. But I really want you to just use all the data that you have available to you and decide. Um, what about legumes? If you're doing the variety plan, of course, have your legumes, but beans and chickpeas and lentils and things like that, I wouldn't do if I were doing fully raw or the cooked plan. If you're doing plan A or B, which plan A is fully raw, let's not do legumes because you need to cook legumes. So fully raw means you're not cooking anything. So that would be out of the question. The plan B with some cooked, it's really like, can you cook the vegetable? Can you cook, maybe instead of the raw smoothie, you're doing like a stir fry sauteed plate of vegetables but plan C is where you can have the full gamut, where you're eating grains, you're cooking your vegetables, you've got raw fruits, you've got legumes there. And you can mix up the nuts. So that's for people who need to retain their weight or gain weight. But otherwise, I'd encourage you to lay off of them. I hope that answers your question, Josephine. All right. All right. You can keep the questions coming. I'll try to keep a closer eye on the chat box while I go through this. But lots of great smoothie ideas. Like I said, I'd encourage you to keep your smoothies more savory than super sweet. So, prioritize green leafy vegetables and blend them with, the smoothie that I have in my fridge. It has spinach, cucumber, green apple, and then some banana and chia seeds. And then I have another version that has a little, like, it has spinach, it has green apple, cucumber, a little ginger for a kick, and then flax seeds. So I usually alternate between chia seeds and flax seeds. I if you're in Accra and you're looking for places to order like chia seeds or flax seeds, Maxmart usually has them. Palace Supermarket, Malcolm, they typically carry. I also have the number to a few health shops that deliver. So sometimes I just order and they deliver it to the house. And then I also typically order, fresh produce from an organic farm. So when I do want to eat meat, they have antibiotic free meats and eggs. And so like if you want to think about like where you're sourcing your meats and sourcing your eggs from, I'd encourage you to look for more organic sources where they're not pumping the produce with pesticides and pumping the animals with antibiotics, but growing in a more natural and sustainable way. I think at some point, I think I was sharing with one of you that I think I need a backyard garden because I want to, make sure the rest of my life is the best of my life. And I think I need to start investing in growing things for myself at home, you know, tomatoes and the greens that I use, like the basil. Like we spent like I was at the grocery store this weekend. We probably spent like 100 and something cities for like 10 bags of basil to make like less than a liter worth of pesto for the house. My daughter loves pesto, so she had that with pasta. And then I used some of the pesto for my salad this afternoon. But pesto is essentially basil leaves, and that could grow in a pot in my backyard. So I'm really beginning to do the math and think like I should actually be growing my dandelion and my dill and my garlic and my, other things that I use very regularly. So I hope this is helpful. Like I said, I'll share these links in the chat box for you to just look at what's available. There are resources and there's, like if I saw a question about salad dressing in the WhatsApp group, if you go to fullyraw.com, there are like so many recipes for raw salad dressings that you could use without oil, without other things. And so some of them is like, oh wow, I never knew that I could blend other vegetables into this type of puree that I could use to dress the other vegetables I'm about to eat. And for that 52-day period, like it took some experimenting, it took different ways of like trying to see what worked well. And one thing that I really enjoy doing is sesame. I don't know if you've heard of tahini, which is essentially just grounded sesame. Sometimes, I would just cut up vegetables and dip it in tahini, which is grounded sesame. So I would get the sesame seeds and then ground them at home with a little water. And you've got this sesame seed paste. It can be a little, bitter and nutty, but I like it. And it's a very healthy source of fat and other minerals. It's really good for regulating your blood pressure and just so many other health benefits. So there are just there's a world of information out there about different ways you can get off of processed food for a set period of time and win. So don't feel like what I've shared with you is exhaustive. But there's this author of a book, How to Not Die, whose interview I've listed here as well. There's a masterclass on plant-based nutrition. I'll paste all these links in the WhatsApp group, so don't worry. But I just really want to encourage you to give these 10 days a chance. 10 days without chicken or without, you know, 10 days without chicken or meat or fish or eggs or whatever it is you might be thinking, oh my God, can I give that up? You won't die, I can assure you. I think 10 days is a really interesting period of time to just see what could be working for you. Um, Please note that if you do go fully raw, you might notice some detox effects on your body. If you're going fully raw, you might notice looser stools. Um, but I think after like the first 4 or 5 days, you should be fine. Sometimes when you're detoxing as well, you can have headaches or lethargy as a result of that, and just accept that that is like toxins coming out of your body, and your body adjusting itself to this new way that you're eating. The great thing about switching to this for a 10-day period is that, and you'll see it in some of the links that I share with you, that it has a way to reset your gut microbiome and just help you digest better. And so oftentimes when most of our diet is fast food, greasy, etc., we lose some of the healthy gut bacteria that really aid digestion. But when we eat plant-based, it really restores those natural microbiomes, the healthy gut bacteria that's needed, so that even when you do start eating other things, your body processes it better. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but I really highly recommend that that you do take this challenge seriously for the next 10 days and that you journal your journey. We want to see what it's doing for you or to you. We want to hear what you're struggling with, what could be better or different, and we want you to be in each other's corner, no matter what plan you choose to go on. If you're going to do the fully raw, more power to you. If you're going to do some cooked, more power to you. And if you're going to do the variety, more power to you. But we really want you to prioritize plant-based nutrition for this next stage of the challenge. All right. Um, okay, someone is asking, what about homemade pickled vegetables? I think that's fine. I personally think that's fine. I would occasionally have olives. I don't pickle vegetables myself, but um, there's a few times that I ordered kimchi, which is like the fermented cabbage. Um, so I think that's fine. So we want to think about minimally processed food, like no, if it's something in a can that has so many ingredients that are like scientific words, I just stay away from it. But if it's something, like vegetables that are pickled, I think that could be fine. Yeah. And again, depending on the plan that you're choosing, like if you're going to do fully raw, if you want to be like, no, this is not raw, this has been pickled and jarred for how long? Because part of the pickling, like depending on how you've done it, some of these pickled products are very high in sodium. The salt content is pretty insane. So that's why I'm asking everyone to just take in all this information, and given where you're at, like maybe you're not someone who's struggling with like high blood pressure and doesn't need a low salt diet right now. So maybe having pickled vegetables might make sense. But if you are someone who is not, yeah, none of us says scientific words. All the Hydra stuff always get me worried. Yep. There's this woman I follow. I think her name is Coach Rowe. She says, this ain't food. This is a lab experiment. She looks at the back of a bottle and says, no, this ain't food. This isn't food. This is a lab experiment. And they're not going to be experimenting with my body. And I love how she puts it because that's exactly what we're doing. That over a period of time, even things like dyes, like tomato paste has so much red dye in there. Like, okay, yes, it may have started with tomatoes, but it's got this preservative and these colors and this kind of, that the percentage of what was natural was so diminished by all of the other stuff that you're losing value and polluting your body in many ways by consuming them. When you turn around, like I used to love salad cream. I mean, just like the creamy taste, it made my vegetables tolerable, quote unquote, in my mind. Like, but you read the back of like a normal Heinz, I don't mean to call out the brand, but like any salad cream, like the sugar, the blah blah blah, and the scientific words up on there. So you're better off making your homemade salad dressings for this 10-day period, is what I say all that to say. Um, and if you're someone who just can't see your life without eggs or other things, like, I would encourage you to just give it a try for as many days as you can and just see like what could be a replacement for what else could I get protein from? What else could I possibly use to replace, meat for this 10-day period? What other protein sources are there? And do your own research and see what might work for you. So some of you might notice like hunger because you're eating vegetables and you feel like you're not full, etc. I'd encourage you to lean into prayer and lean into like, okay, how do I make the meal that I'm going to have more substantive? Because 1.8 liters of smoothie, it's like this bottle and some, like almost 2 liters. Like that's the quantity of smoothie. Like if you're hungry on this diet, you're probably not having enough. But I noticed that if you are making sure, like, if this smoothie and this salad is supposed to be my meal, then what can I add to it to make it substantive? So, like this afternoon, I had a big bowl of salad. It had salad, like lettuce and shredded carrots, and I put blueberries and strawberries in there, put cherry tomatoes. I shredded like two big Lebanese um what do you call cucumbers in there, and then I put some pesto on it, and then I had half of a mango after that, and I felt pretty full until like 2 hours ago. And then because I know I'm on this like antibiotic, I have to take it twice a day. I was like, okay, let me do this fruit plate, and let me have that and have the second antibiotic and make sure that I'm not, you know, so each of us might need some modifications. I say all that to say, and I welcome you to take the journey in consultation with this community because we're doing it together. Okay? All right. So here ends the official presentation piece. I'm going to open up the floor. What's resonating? Questions, comments. What plan are you going to do? How many of you are going to do fully raw? How many of you are going to do some cooked? How many of you are going to like just stick to variety because you don't need to lose weight? You don't need massive, dramatic changes. Talk to me, people. All right. Cynthia, I see your hand is up. Please unmute and share.
Sorry. Good evening,
Good
to
evening.
all. So excited to be, especially for nutrition for me. The last renew challenge, I couldn't do nutrition well. I actually joined around that time, so I couldn't do it well this time. But even the little I did, as I did, was very significant because I just saw my weight drop. People see me and say, ah, what is special? What is special? But for me, this time today, for instance, I've just done raw. I did some smoothies, some fruits, and avocado, and I don't feel hungry. I was surprised. Wow. Midday, I said, oh, what am I going to eat? And I remembered you are not eating any cooked food, so better find something else to eat. Fortunately, I had my smoothie. I've been doing chia seed and flax seed for a while now because I have a few issues I'm dealing with. When I was menopausal or premenopausal with sweating and things, I read about chia seed being helpful and flax seed, so I've been on it for a while. It's been helpful. I want or I wish to do the raw because on a few occasions, if let's say 2 days a day, I've done that. I felt good in my body. The mental clarity, which you say, you don't feel sluggish when you are doing raw. Yes, once a while, when the sugars are going down, you feel, but it's exciting, and I'm happy to go this way. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's left it. I did some of my check. I need to go and do my lipid profile tomorrow. So, and that means a fasting. I actually took banana before I remembered. I said, wow. So hopefully tomorrow I'll finish the last bit of my labs.
Okay, great. I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
doing your labs. Yeah, I got my labs back
Yeah.
and I was grateful that in spite of the time from where I started my journey till now, things still look good. My blood pressure is good, my blood sugar is good, my fasting blood sugar, my the lipid profile is also good. So I pray that yours is where it needs to be. But I think raw is a great choice, especially if you're looking to drop weight, you're looking for better mental clarity, and it takes a greater level of discipline for sure. And which is why I would encourage you to not ever leave the house without something in your bag that can stave off hunger. Or if you feel like you really need something and there's nothing around, you can reach into your bag. So, one of the things that really helped me when I was doing fully raw is I never left home without a cooler bag with like 2 bottles of smoothie, some tiger nuts and dates or something like that. Like I would have raw, like something that I could chew on if I got to some place and I couldn't find like anything myself. Because when you're doing fully raw, that is so alien to Ghana, and everywhere is designed to get you to eat something greasy and heavy, um, or unwholesome. That's what I found. So if you don't carry your own stuff with you, you might be setting yourself up for for lack of success, for failure. So that's what I would encourage you, Cynthia. If you're
The,
going to do raw, never leave home without something on you
the,
that you can safely eat. So for me, it
okay.
was tiger nuts. Tiger nuts are relatively dry, so it's easy to carry, and then dates. If you're just feeling like you need something to pick you up, like eat a date, drink some water, and it has a way of like managing your blood sugar, especially if you haven't had a full meal. And then walnuts, like I said, like walnuts combined with dates, a really quick snack. And sometimes I would use it as a meal replacement if I was in town and I didn't have any more smoothie on me, or if I didn't have any salad. Salad, if you don't eat it quickly, you might be setting yourself up for food related issues, which is why when they told me I had typhoid in my blood, I was like, you know what? I can believe it because like I do a lot of raw food, and when I go out and things like that, I don't know how it's been prepared. But I was like, something, like I do eat more vegetables and fruits than anything else. And if you don't handle it well, or if it's not been handled well by wherever you ate it, you can position yourself to get this type of infection. So I feel like if you're doing fully raw, be cautious of like, can you handle your own nutrition yourself? Like prepare your smoothies yourself. Make sure like um but if you're looking for some trusted sources, there's this place called Rainforest. They make pretty good smoothies, green smoothies, and I've never had issues eating their stuff. So Rainforest, they make honey and other health items, and they have a shop. I usually go to their East Legon shop, but you can find them online if that's helpful. But yeah, I usually like if you go in my freezer now, I've got like 5 bottles of smoothie in my freezer. So like if I do have to step out and I'm not sure where I'm going, I'll get healthy, wholesome food. I'll just carry a, a, a a freezer bag with these and just have them while I'm out, and then supplement with like tiger nuts, walnuts, dates. So that's another tip. I hope it helps you, Cynthia.
Okay. And my first test for today, my colleague bought me lunch of rice with beans and plantain. I did. I said, give it to me. I'll eat it later. Took it and went and gave it to someone else. I said,
Oh,
what a test.
oh my. Thank you for passing the test because look, the day you set an intention to do something, that's the day somebody wants to take you to a buffet. That's the day, the day I decided I'm doing this 52 days. That's the day my husband bought my favorites. Like there's this place we used to order meats from. He brought home my favorite sausages they made, and he saw this recipe on TikTok he was determined to make. It was that sausage stuffed with cheese, wrapped in bacon. 3 things that I love, and the whole house was smelling of this, and I had to just hide myself in the room. Like I was like, you know something, nope, nope, not today, devil, not today. So congratulations, Cynthia, for passing the test. All right, anyone else care to share? What plan are you going to do?
Thank
What
you.
questions do you have? All right, I don't see any other hands up. Who's next? All right, Maribel, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to attempt the roar to start with just because I've never done anything like that, and all my labs were fine except my lipid profile, which I need to get under control. So I think I'll attempt the roar and see how that goes.
Mm.
Now, in terms of sort of the boundaries, it's all clear. But the one area I'm still struggling with is journaling. So I found out that I'm a great note taker. So when someone is talking or I'm listening to a presentation, a sermon, I take great notes. And as soon as I see certain expressions, I remember exactly what the person said, how they said it. But journaling is a whole new other kind of fish. And it's so difficult for me. I find it draining. I find it causes me to procrastinate, and really I'm struggling. Any pointers on that would be helpful.
So there are different apps for journaling. Some of them let you just audio note. I don't know if that's helpful because sometimes, even here in the office, like I'd sit and I would just turn on Zoom and hit record and say, today I'm thinking this. Like sometimes I'm not in the mood to write, but I feel like I'm having thoughts that I should document. So I'll just click Zoom or hit the voice recorder on my phone and just record thoughts. And then sometimes I go back and watch or listen, and I'm blown away by some of the things that were going through my head at the time. So maybe switch format. Like maybe instead of writing with pen and paper, you journal audibly. Um, I think another thing to consider is maybe you need question prompts. Some people find it difficult without some guidance or prompting to actually start documenting something. So, what what do I need? What have I struggled with? What are the challenges? Like, if you start off like a studious person who's answering questions, it can then lead into kind of the more deep reflections. So, number one, change format, like maybe do audio. There's search different apps. Like if you went to App Store and just said journaling apps, I'm sure you'd come up with a number of them. Um, and then see if you're helped by prompts as well, because sometimes it just like any skill, it takes time. The more you repeat it, the easier it gets. Um, if you make it feel like work, it will feel like work and you'll not want to do it. But if you feel like it's an appointment with yourself, that's how I like looking at journaling. Like it's a check-in with myself. When we were doing energy, I asked you to consider putting an alarm on your phone. How are you feeling? What do you need? For me, those were the prompts. That's what I mean about like having a prompt. Those are the two questions I start with. How am I feeling? How am I feeling today? Actually, I feel good. Or actually, I feel sad. Or actually, feeling like a failure. Like I wanted to do this, but I did that. What was the thing that made it difficult to do the thing I wanted to do? Then it leads me on a tangent that like leads me into spaces that I didn't think I would go. So I hope that's helpful, Maribel. Uh, Try different formats and use prompts. Yeah. Okay, great. You're saying you've got it. Okay. All right. Let me see who else is talking to me. All right. Evelyn says she plans to do the raw. Today I started well with coconut water, coconut food, mango, tangerine, and a baked potato, which clearly I'll need to eliminate. Thank you for sharing, Evelyn. Clara says, I want to maintain my weight while losing the belly fat through the workouts. Won't this cause a bit of weight loss along the line? Well, true. Like Clara, if you do the fully raw, you will likely lose weight. So that's why I'm saying each person should tailor this with their goal. At the time, I could stand to lose the weight. And like right now, I'm a little heavier than I want to be, but I'm still within a healthy range. So I've been prioritizing strength training and core training. And, sometimes as you're muscling up, you actually bulk up. So I've not been mad at that because I feel like I look better than I was looking when I just drastically lost the weight and was very flabby and a little soft, right? So each of us has different goals, and I would encourage you to do the combo that works best for you. If you're trying to maintain weight, then I would say maybe do plan B or C. And you might want to modify, the kinds of workouts that you're doing to target what you want, which is you want to get the fat off of your but I find nutrition is so much easier to use as a tool to lose weight than exercise. I think exercise is good for your mobility, your longevity, but often our weight is tied to our intake. So if you're intaking more natural foods, these aren't foods that make you put on weight. Like all these natural foods, it's plant-based diets are so not likely to make you retain weight. So I think you can do a blended model to get the result you're looking for, Clara. All right. Doreen says I'll do 85% raw and cooked will be chickpeas or kidney beans. All right. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. My coach used to say you can't exercise away a bad diet. I love that. Yeah, that is so true. And I saw that because even without exercise, that 52 days of just changing my diet just transformed me in ways I never thought possible. So I saw that firsthand that I used to gym. I used to go and like join groups and we'd be exercising every day on Zoom. And I used to like do the most when it came to physical activity. But when nutrition was what I focused on, the weight just like fell off of me. So I concur. All right. Josephine says, I'll stick with fruit and veggies, but not all raw because the varieties of veggies available are limited, so I'll have to turn to some frozen veggies. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. And if you don't trust the source of the veggies, maybe cooked is the safer option because, like I said, I really have been deliberate about where I'm sourcing vegetables, but I have also gone out to like parties and things like that and ate salads that I didn't prepare and ate, like so I when the doctor told me like you've got typhoid in your blood, I was like, oh, actually, I've not been like obsessively controlling my food the way I used to. So I can see how that's possible. So if you're not sure about, the quality of the food that you're sourcing, especially the vegetables, you want to clean your vegetables well. I usually clean my vegetables with like a little vinegar, a little salt, and I soak them. And if it's the leafy vegetables before I do the smoothies, I wash them really, really well. And you want to care for the the food that's about to go in your body, especially if it's going in raw. Benedicta, did you have your hand up? I thought I saw your hand
I
breathe.
did.
Okay, please go ahead.
Hi. So, Saturday, when you sent the video, the 19 minutes video that I started watching, I was actually grilling some ribs and oh my God. And let me turn this video on. And I told my husband, oh my God, they said we should eat raw. And I was like, they said, I'm like, okay, no, I'm practicing personal integrity and I'm going to commit to doing this no processed raw meals. But actually, on 2nd January, I decided to go off carbs. So I started my journey on 2nd January and I had vegetables and meat, mostly chicken. So I thought this challenge would, would be similar
Mm,
until I watched that video. But the first 3 weeks for me was challenging because I have to make my husband's food and everything he loves and just make vegetables for myself. And I was asking whether I really, really wanted to do this. And those 3 weeks, I lost about 3 kilos.
mm,
And do I want to do I really want to do this again? But I want to push myself a little further and see how far I can go. And for me, to be able to wrap my mind around the challenge, I break it into smaller goals. So I've told myself that I'll do raw for the next 3 days. And
mm,
I know that after the 3 days, I'm gonna go another 3 days, and I have a calendar at home which I've marked like next week,
mm.
Wednesday or Thursday is the deadline. I'm just looking forward to that and counting the days and taking it as they come. So I'm committed to raw, even though my husband has planned a dinner on Valzin. I don't know what to do about
Some
it.
people
That's
might be cursing me because of that. Like, oh, yeah, well, how do you put a no processed food challenge out
yeah.
on Valentine's weekend? But like, look, I think this is it's gonna be such a great test of like your own personal values. Like, I never thought I could like in the 52 days that I did the raw. I had my husband's birthday. He was so upset. He's like, "So you're seriously gonna come to my birthday and not like and I did. Like God gave me the willpower and I had like the strength to practice integrity. Like, look, we'll go out, but I'll have a salad. You'll have what you want. So we had his party. I was the joyful wife of the celebrant and all of that, but I did not touch food that was not according to the plan I chose. So I think this is part of the gift you give yourself. Like love of self is an important love. Like, how do you love your body and treat it to what will do it well? And, I know there are different diets that prioritize meat, other things, but I think I'm teaching you what worked for me. And I'm inviting you to try it to see if it could work for you as well. And 10 days will be here before you know it, ladies. So put in the freezer what is contraband and and let's do this. So yeah. All right. You're welcome, Benedicta. All right. Is raw honey allowed? I tend to add honey to cardamom, fennel, cumin, and ajwain for my gut in the evening. I don't even know what ajwain is. There are levels in this game. Doreen, you've got to educate me. I do not even know what that is. But raw honey is fine. There's so much adulterated honey on our markets, though. So I just again would encourage you to just know the source. But raw honey is fine. But if you could do dates and you know that this is the date, I put it in the blender and every sweetness I'm getting is from this date, that might be a more, trusted source of sweetness or fruit, um, etc. So yeah, raw honey, as long as you can certify it as raw, is fine. But there's just some very unscrupulous business practices that what you think is wholesome isn't actually wholesome. So if you're gonna do the raw, I'd encourage you to just like know that I'm eating this and the taste I feel is because I bit into this apple or I bit into this fruit. Or this smoothie is sweet because I put two bananas in it. That's why. All right. Any other questions? I see most of you are looking to try the raw, which makes me happy because I think it is the more challenging, but it also does give the more drastic result. Yeah. All right. I've been on Eden with some cooked, but looking to do raw now. Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I've been really excited to see, or I am really excited to see what unfolds for each of you. And like I said, put on your scientist hat. Like, this is my body off of this stuff. Do I like what my body looks like, feels like right now? And to Cynthia's point, just a few days, you just begin to notice, oh, there's a lightness. I feel less sore. I recover from exercise more quickly. I'm less needing of sleep. My mind is clear. The mental fog is gone. Like all of these benefits that you derive, I think are interesting enough, at least were interesting enough for me to try to make a lifestyle out of it. All right. None of us says I've done the raw diet before and it was fantastic. Awesome. All right. So Joanne says on your first or on your fast challenge, Yawa, how many days did you eat the raw food? I did raw for 52 days. And after 52 days, I started to incorporate cooked food. I started with soups. So I still wasn't eating meat or fish. I just did vegetable soups for like an additional couple of weeks. So altogether, I was on nothing but plant-based nutrition for probably until April. So like from January, February, March, April. Yeah. I didn't eat a piece of meat until like April. Yeah. And even that, I don't eat meat regularly. Even now, I still, you know, I still haven't become, very rarely do I eat meat. And if I do, I want to have sourced it from a reliable source. And I think my body personally just does better when I'm not eating meat regularly. I would eat eggs occasionally. I'd make an omelet. Um, and then do more, very little dairy, over the past year. I've probably had cheese at Christmas. They made macaroni and cheese. So I had macaroni and cheese, and then I've not done white rice in over a year. I've never gone back to white rice. I prefer sweet potato and yam, plantain. I think white rice is just it spikes my blood sugar, and I don't think something I want to reincorporate into my diet. So I've not been doing rice, and I try to just over index on vegetables more than anything else. So none of us says that's next level. No, that was just the grace and mercy of God helping me. And I felt like I needed to make this a way of life if it was going to be a permanent, like, I want the rest of my life to be the best of my life. I want like, that's my heart's prayer. And that's my wish for you all. And I think it was in was it June that people were like, "What are you doing? You look like 20 years younger. You look like, oh my God, but that's actually what prompted the Renew Challenge, because so many people were like, "What? Did you do weight loss surgery? What?" Like, I kept having to explain myself that I was like, okay, I'll just teach you what I'm doing and let's do it together. So let's make a journey out of this together. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my journey. I did 52 days on nothing but raw. Then I started cooking. So I went from plan A to plan B to plan C. And my variety started including lentils. So I do yellow lentils, brown lentils, chickpeas, black eyed peas occasionally. And I still don't do much bread. Um, I've eaten bread a few times, but I try to stay away from rice and bread. I think those two are just things that I struggled with in the past and just don't want to get back in love with. And so yeah, I hope that's helpful. Anybody else with a question? All right, we now have our marching orders. We know what we're doing. I wish you all the best on these 10 days, and we're going to have our next coaching call on Friday. And I look forward to seeing how it's going for you. Please don't be a stranger in the WhatsApp group. Please, let us know what you're eating. Let's know what you're facing, what you're experiencing. I'll post this recording, of course, and then the links for some of the resources that I think might be instructive for those who want to just learn more about the science behind plant-based nutrition. There's some people who are vegans, some people who are vegetarians, and some people who are pescatarians, some people who they live on the carnivore way of eating. But I think what you find as a commonality in all of those eating plans is that they're not doing processed food. So in this processed food challenge, the main goal is to stay away from anything that is a lab experiment. Especially like even if you're eating cooked food, like let's do it without the seasoning cubes. Let's do it without the the dyes and things that are artificial to the body. And let's just see what this does. And let's analyze what you do with that information at the end of 10 days. Okay. So thank you, ladies, for joining me tonight. Always a pleasure to tune in and connect. I just want to pray that, Lord, thank you for all of the wonderful gifts you've given us in nature. And we're making a commitment in this 10 days to go back to nature, to eat a garden-centric diet, to say no to things that are foreign and processed, and to say yes to what's natural and helpful. So help us to prioritize nutrient-dense food. Help us to practice integrity with ourselves so that what we said we will do will actually follow through on, and help us to win. Winning for us is shedding the weight, reversing the disease, becoming more disciplined, experiencing greater integrity, and at the end of the day, becoming more of what you've called us to do in Jesus' name. We thank you. Amen. So, ladies, see you, God willing, on Friday for our next coaching call. And I'm available if I'm a message away if you need me. But until then, stay well. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good
Bye.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Bye, everyone.